I am so glad you're here at the Generation Cedar podcast. I'm Kelly Crawford, wife and mom to 11. Yes, I birthed 11 kids. You have come to the right place. If you crave to live and parent with purpose and need encouragement and inspiration to do your most important job, raising kids for the kingdom, check in every Monday and Friday for your short, powerful shot in the arm, or subscribe for the deeper, meatier episodes every Wednesday. Let's dive into today's episode. Today's episode is the overrated college degree. It's part of a series that I'm going to be doing called Rethinking Education. John Taylor Gatto said, "I don't think we'll get rid of schools anytime soon, certainly not in my lifetime, but if we're going to change what's rapidly becoming a disaster of ignorance, we need to realize that the institution schools very well, but it does not educate. That's inherent in the design of the thing. It's not the fault of bad teachers or too little money spent. It's just impossible for education and schooling to be the same thing." End quote. Changing the way we think about education is probably one of the most difficult things to do, and for two reasons. Primarily because we are steeped in the only narrative that we've known, most of us, growing up. Secondly, we have been conditioned to fear. The whole chain of education is linked with fear. So think about that. We want our kids to have a, quote, good education, but we've let big business define what that means. We don't really mean a good education, or we would all oppose the current system. What we really mean is a good paying job, and the system was created from the top down to function the way it does to lock us in by fear. Another quote from Gatto says, "Students hear again and again that a degree from a special college is such a powerful advantage in later life that the $250,000 cost is fully justified, if you are one of the lucky ones who can afford it. Skip over the morality of this contention. As a statement of fact, it's a masterpiece of fabrication, scientifically speaking, on par with the medieval theory of four humors. If it appears true, it's a tribute to ceaseless propaganda because the employment game has been heavily rigged to make it seem so, and because critics of the enchantment are marginalized as screwballs. A degree from a highly ranked school hardly matters at all in the real world. It only matters to people who believe the lie." End quote. To get a, quote, good job, a student needs a college degree, so we think. To get a college degree, he needs good ACT scores. To get those, he needs good test scores in school. That's really what the majority of parents care about. And so the system is increasingly loyal to a test. But that betrays the individual student's passion and need for learning what matters. Now, those of us who homeschool have the tremendous opportunity to escape this hamster wheel. And yet, all too often, I see frazzled moms desperately trying to recreate that broken model at home. The good news is there are new, but actually not new, possibilities on the horizon. And finally, employers are beginning to seek out employees with skills they don't necessarily learn in college. There are apprenticeships, for example. They are making a huge comeback, and this is really great news if you are opposed to the assembly line education like we've been talking about. There is a UK publication that reported apprenticeships have changed. From the days of a novice learning his trade at the side of a master craftsman, they have evolved to include high-tech specialized programs in nuclear physics and high-end training with bespoke designer fashion labels. They should no longer be considered the poor relation of university study or the last resort for those not cut out for formal education. Big businesses look to them as key to developing the expertise and skills needed to grow their workforce. So now we get back to the real basics of an education. Number one, an eager learner. Number two, a good communicator. Number three, a problem solver. 4, a critical thinker. Number 5, someone who's analytical. And 6, a motivated self-learner. Hear this from the Seattle Times. Apprenticeships have gotten a new lease on life, said Anthony Carnival, chief economist of the American Society for Training and Development in Alexandria, Virginia. They're extending beyond white males with calluses on their hands to a variety of people and occupations. We need more highly skilled workers. Please don't misunderstand me. There is a place for a traditional college degree. There are some trades that require a specialized skill set that can only be found at college, and if that's what a child needs, there's nothing wrong with that. The aim here is to overturn the general damaging mindset that everyone must get a college degree. So kids graduating high school, spending thousands upon thousands of dollars just to go to college because that's the status quo. We've got to overturn that mindset. Besides the tremendous debt students often find themselves in, a large percentage of kids have no reason for attending college besides my parents want me to, or that's what everybody does. I've debated about doing an episode devoted to the problem with college, but I'll let you investigate more on that subject if you want. Suffice it to say, until we destroy the myth that college is the answer for everyone, we will continue to let fear drive our methods, largely robbing us of potentially better education. Now, I'm sure you have lots of examples of this, but I have a good example of how skills won out over a missing college degree. And in this example, it is my brother. Had my brother Chris not been squeezed into the mold, it's hard to say where his interests and gifts would have taken him. He is an artist, but art isn't a very practical skill, so we say, so he wasn't encouraged much in that direction. He got through high school rather hating academics, but enduring them like everyone else, far more concerned with his peers and weekend activities than his homework. But Chris did have a head start, thanks to some of the early experiences we had as children, including learning to communicate well. Our dad, who is very wise and discerning, also passed that down to my brother and made quite a critical thinker out of him. And work ethic. If there's one thing my dad believes is important, it's a hard work ethic. Chris didn't go to college. He did apprentice under a civil engineer for a while and then decided he wanted to get his pilot license. He learned everything he needed for that because it interested him and he was motivated to learn it. Later, he applied for a highly specialized job at an aviation navigation company in Colorado. He trained first as a data analyst, beating dozens of applicants more qualified with degrees because the employer saw skills in him that were valued above a piece of paper. He was later promoted to supervisor in navigation data extract involving global communications and the coordinating of teams worldwide. Now he owns his own highly successful real estate company and several other companies as well, again, outperforming many of his more qualified colleagues. He had skills that set him up for success, and we need to foster those in our kids more than worry about whether they can ace a standardized test. When I asked my brother about his journey, he said, it really does boil down to a few things. If you can think, if you know how to learn, and if you can communicate well, and he emphasized that one, and you know how to relate to people with integrity, there's not much you can't do that you want to do. And I think he's right. And let's not forget the new, incredibly wide world the internet has opened for entrepreneurs and people who simply don't want to punch a clock. College is such a tiny part of the narrative now. Let's not let our fear of college drive the way we think about education. There is so much more. Thanks so much for listening today. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me through my blog at generationcedar.com or catch me on Facebook or Instagram. Tell me what has helped you, tell me what you'd like to hear, or just tell me your story. Until next time.